Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Kindly let me know in the chat box. I'll wait for few minutes and then we will start. I don't think there is any other class at 8 p.m. There is no class today at 8 p.m. Yeah, I can see some doubts. List 1 is part 1 of the attendance and list 2 is the part 2 of the attendance. Got my point? And the final list is the version where we have the common entries, the name of the students who have filled both the forms, which means who are present. If your name is in the final list and still you are marked absent, you can contact us on WhatsApp and we will correct the mistake. If you had exams or any such issue, contact us on WhatsApp and we'll work something out. Shall we start the class now? Revati, if you want to change your Gmail address, email address, you can message on WhatsApp and we will change it for you. Because something cannot be changed by the user, so we will change that for you. So sorry for that. आज की क्लास के बाद पक्का सारे नोट्स आ जाएंगे. आई थिंक देर आर 4 presentations and 2 notes or 1 notes. Okay, I will send after today's class. If you have exam tomorrow, I would suggest you to focus on tomorrow's exam. Best of luck and don't worry about attendance. We will see that about later. एग्जाम का पढ़ने का मन नहीं है तो इधर रह लो, नहीं तो फिर कल पेपर है तो पढ़ ही लो और क्या. If you think so, Abhinand, you can leave. There is no hard feelings. Okay, so shall we start the session now? Okay. So before starting the class, I would like to tell you there are two sides of this subject, what we are learning. Okay. Just like we have two hands, one hand is cyber security and the other hand is ethical hacking. In ethical hacking, we mainly focus on tools and softwares and how to use them. And on the other hand, in cybersecurity, we focus mainly on management systems or how to make our systems secure. These are the practices. Okay, so this is in our lectures. We are trying to combine these two both hands and trying to teach you. So first of all, we are going to cover some cybersecurity topics. Like today, we are going to cover GRC framework, security management frameworks, and then we are going to move on to ethical hacking part. And today we are going to study TCP/IP protocols and I think packet sniffing. Yes, from the following week, the next week, we will start with practical sessions, which means we will mainly focus on tools and technologies, ethical hacking part. Okay. After today's class, you will have a much clearer idea of what we are going to study. So let us start. I hope my presentation is visible. Today, we are diving deep into the critical aspect of organizational management that we use in cybersecurity. Right. First of all, we have GRC. It is a framework, okay, and it stands for governance, risk, and compliance in cybersecurity. Okay, it is not a technical framework. It is a strategic approach that helps organizations manage their resources, particularly cyber assets, while adhering to laws, regulations, and standards. It has become an indispensable tool in today's digital world, right? So, moving to my presentation. Today, we are going to cover in the first half of the lecture, we are going to cover these topics. What is GRC? Importance of GRC. What are the different approaches of cybersecurity management? Okay, GRC is not alone, there are other approaches too. Okay, like COBIT framework and others, COSCO. Regulatory compliances, internal control. What is internal control? why GRC matters, understanding GRC approaches, framework based approach, and in the other lecture, in the other half of the lecture, we will study TCP IP protocols and some other topics. Please upload a video of how to install Kali Linux. Okay, sure. I'll try to upload it as soon as I can. It's a really simple tutorial. Okay, yes. Moving on to what is GRC. To understand GRC, let's look at its three components. Okay, first is governance, second is risk management or risk, you can say, third is compliance. Governance. So, what is governance? Okay, think of governance as the decision making process. It's about who makes decisions and how they are made, how they are implemented. These three: who makes the decisions, how they are made, and how they are implemented. Governance sets the tone and direction for the organization, ensuring that everything aligns with its goals. Right? For example, if cybersecurity is a strategic priority, right? So governance ensures policies and structures are in place to act on it, right? Secondly, we have risk management. This can be referred to possibility of adverse outcomes that we are expecting in this subject, like cyber attacks or data breach. Managing risk means identifying them, identifying potential threats or risks, assessing their impacts, what impacts that they can create, and finding ways to mitigate them, finding ways to avoid them, like a prevention. For example, you can imagine you are running a website like an e-commerce store or a drop shipping store, right? A website from where you sell something. A data breach could expose sensitive customer data, right? So risk management would involve steps like encryption and regular security audits, right? So that even in a data breach, hacker wouldn't get some valuable data that belongs to your users. What is the importance of GRC? By now, of course, you have might have guessed what is the importance of GRC. It is for protection, risk assessment, and providing a trust in your organization and keeping up its reputation. This would be the best importance that I could explain to you of GRC framework. Did you know in 2021 Air India faced a data breach that impacted over less than 5 million users, around 4 point something 4.6 million users. Due to such events, cybersecurity is the main key role here, right? Moving on to approaches to cybersecurity management, right? So organizations typically manage cybersecurity using one of the three approaches. Okay. First of all, we have discussed the first is GRC approach, right? Second is standard driven approach. Okay. Third is ad hoc approach. First of all, discuss the standard driven approach. It is based on specific standards like ISO, okay, or NIST. We will see what does that mean in the upcoming lecture. Okay. First of all, let us discuss one more framework. Like we discussed GRC. Let us discuss COBIT. Meanwhile, if you have any doubts, let me know in the chat box. Okay. So COBITS is the short for Control Objectives for Information and Related Technology. Okay. Control Objectives for Information and Related Technology. Don't worry. Promise after today's class, I will share all the PPTs. I think there are 4 PPTs, and I will share some notes too regarding today's class and yesterday's class too. The day before yesterday. Okay. So COBIT framework was developed to help organizations manage IT risks and governance. It operates on basic principles that involves aligning stakeholders, covering the enterprise end to end. Okay. Uh, yes. Okay. Adopting an integrated framework and enabling a holistic approach. COBIT works in 4 steps. Okay, I have written these 4 steps here. Okay, the first one is plan. Okay, plan and organize. You can ignore this PO or AI, DS, and me. This is just some examples so that you can remember. Okay, there's no such thing like PO, AI, DS, and me. It is just a trick to remember. Okay, the first step is plan. In this step, we develop strategies, and secondly we acquire and implement, right, where we implement systems. Thirdly, deliver and support, right. Fourthly, we have monitor, where we continuously evaluate the performance and the threats, risk management, everything. We have more GRC frameworks such as COSO ERM and ISO. We are going to discuss this ISO in the further class also, right. There's a specific part for that too. I think you all must be familiar with ISO too, right? It is widely famous. You can see ISO logo on certificates or some websites, right? Okay, so you want me to explain frameworks again in basic simple language. I'll explain it again. GRC is not just a technical framework, right? It's a strategic approach. It's an approach that helps organization manage their resources, particularly cyber assets, okay, while adhering to the laws and regulations and standards. The main three steps involved are governance, risk management, and compliances. Governance means the decision making process, who is making the decisions, how it is being made, and how they are implemented. And the second stage, which was risk management, it is the possibility of adverse outcomes like cyber attacks or data breaches, how we identify the potential threats, assess their impact, and find the best way to avoid them. Third is compliance. Compliance means following the rules. It ensures organizations are following the relevant laws and regulations to avoid penalties or reputational damage. Yes, on some products too. Moving on to regulatory compliances. For examples, let's say regulatory compliances for bodies such as RBI, Reserve Bank of India. They often mandate cybersecurity initiatives for industries, right? For instance, or for example, after a major cyber attack back in 2016, the RBI made cybersecurity a mandatory strategic initiative for Indian banks. Mandatory, compulsory. Organizations that failed to comply risk penalties, data breaches, and reputational damage. Right? This is what regulatory compliances mean. Adhere to laws, regulations, and guidelines. Purpose is to avoid legal penalties and fines. Right? Moving on to what does internal control means. Internal controls. How do we ensure compliance? The thing that we discussed in previous slide, regulatory compliance. How do we ensure this? We ensure this using internal controls. Get my point? These internal controls can be categorized as preventive controls, detective controls, and corrective controls. Right? Preventive controls means stop problems before they occur. Right? As the name suggests, preventive. The second is detective controls, where we identify issues when they happen. Right? And the third is corrective controls. After they are detected, issue fix the issues after detection. Right? This is internal control categorized in three steps. Examples you can see, we have written here, includes access controls and security policies to prevent potential issues, utilizes audits and monitoring to identify problems as they arise, encompasses incidents responses and disaster recovery to address detected issues. Right? You all need to know this basic stuff because this is necessary if you want to become a cybersecurity expert. It's not just about learning tools or hacking something. Right? We have already discussed this why GRC matters, risk reduction, regulatory compliances, like reputational management and operational efficiency. Right? Tell me some real world examples on these frameworks detailed. Well, Sagar, actually, I was about to give this as an assignment to you all. See, I wanted you all to do some research on your own. Okay. I wanted you all to analyze a real world data breach. I gave you an example back in 2021, Air India, right? 4.5 million user data got leaked, right? So I wanted to give you this assignment where you had to analyze a real world data breach and then identify the problems, how poor GRC practices contributed to it, and suggest how implementing the GRC could have prevented it, right? There is one case study also that I have prepared for you all. If we get time today, we will discuss it. Elsewhere, I'll share it to you and you can read it on your own. It's about an e-commerce website that faced some cyber attack, and what was the mistake that they did, how poorly they handled it, and what should they have done to avoid such mishappening, right? So if we get time, we will discuss it today, or else I'll share it to you 100% and you can study it on your own. Okay. We will end this class within 1 hour, so maybe 8:30 or more, 8:45 max. Don't research it on now, right now. You can research on it later. Okay, so moving on. Mm, yes. In the beginning, I told you, right? There are three approaches: framework based approach, standard specific approach, and combinational approach, right? So, this is the same thing. Framework based approach may look like COSO, ERM, or COBIT, right? These frameworks provide detailed methodologies for managing risks and ensuring compliances. Whereas standard specific approach, it focuses on specific standards such as ISO, right? Offering clear guidelines and specific requirements. The combination approach, it is a blend of frameworks and standards offering the best of both the worlds, right? For examples, organizations can use frameworks like COBIT for governance and combine them with ISO standards for specific cybersecurity needs, right? For you all, I have mentioned some this detailed things also. You can study by yourself, right? Benefits, challenges, example, definition, everything. Just some theoretical part. Now, moving on to ISO, which are globally recognized for cybersecurity management, right? These standards ensures that cybersecurity systems are active and follows a continuous improvement cycle, right? The methodologies is based on the Plan Do Check Act, right? As mentioned here, PDCA framework, Plan Do Check Act. What does that mean? Well, plan means let us pick it one by one. Plan, do, act, action. First of all, let us discuss plan. Plan means identify cybersecurity objectives and plan for their implementations, right? Do means executing the planned things, right? Check is where monitor and access the implementations to ensure effectiveness. And lastly, we have act, to make improvements based on assessment results, right? Now we have ISO series, like you can see here, and we will see the meaning of these, right? There are over 50 standards. Okay, we will discuss some. We have ISO 27001, focuses on cybersecurity management systems, right? So whenever you see such certificate or any logo with such code, you can search its meaning. What does it mean? So ISO 27001 means focused on cybersecurity management systems. 002 means provides a code of practice for implementing cybersecurity controls. And 279799 means tailored for managing, okay, managing information security in healthcare. This is for healthcare. Okay, there are more, but I just wanted to give you an overview of this, right? NIST standard for cybersecurity management. National Institute of Standards and Technology in the United States. Okay, this is what NIST means. So, what makes NIST unique, right? Why do we need to study NIST? NIST. NIST standards are openly accessible, unlike ISO standards. Okay, which, by the way, ISO also require payments, right? They are highly detailed but often seen as abstract, requiring expertise to implement effectively. So the key difference between ISO and NIST, right? The first key difference would be that ISO requires a payment, there is a fee, right? Whereas NIST is openly accessible. Regional wise, ISO is preferred in Europe, whereas NIST is preferred in US. ISO is proprietary based or and NIST is open source. Meanwhile, if you have any doubts, let me know. The lecture started at 7:30 and the form was closed, I think, on 7:45, I think, and it was pinned too. Okay, so let me share my PPT. Just a second. In the last class, where were we? We discussed what were the topics that we discussed? I think we discussed computer networks, basics of computer networks, and OSI model. I think we discussed, right? And now we need to discuss TCP/IP protocols, UDP. Just a second. No, NIST is not paid. Moving on to TCP IP model. Okay. Now we this is the topics that we are going to discuss. Okay. Introduction to TCP IP, four layers of TCP IP, data transmission in TCP IP, key protocols, right? UDP, IP packet routing, right? And these are the key components. Okay. ARP, ICMP, TCP versus UDP. What is the difference? Encapsulation, understanding network addresses. Packet sniffing is the last topic of today. Okay. In the next class, probably we will start with practical and I'll show you about packet sniffing and some tools. Before that, we will see how to install Kali Linux. Okay. Moving on, introduction to TCP IP. That is the backbone of internet communication. Okay. So TCP stands for TCP IP, Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol. Okay. It's essentially a set of communication rules or protocols, as the name suggests, that allow computers to share resources over the internet. Think of it as the universal language of the internet, right? Connecting different devices and platform seamlessly. There's a quote to remember what TCP IP is. That is, TCP is the common glue that binds everything together. Okay, so let's take a quick look at its history. TCP/IP was built in the early 1970s, okay, as a part of a project funded by the US military. Over time, it spread to universities and became the backbone of what we call now the internet. Right? Purpose of TCP/IP, as discussed earlier, the primary purpose of TCP/IP is to standardize networking protocols, or you can say rules, right? Standard rules, facilitating communications between diverse systems or networks, right? Moving on to four layers of TCP/IP. Yesterday we discussed OSI model and the seven layers that it included. Today we are discussing four layers of TCP/IP. Right? First layer is application layer. Second is transport layer. Third is network layer, and fourth is link layer. Right? Application layer. This is where applications operate. Right? Think of it as the interface between you and the network. The example would be HTTPS or DNS, right? Secondly, we have transport layer. This layer is responsible for ensuring a reliable data transfer, right? As the name suggests, it's a transport layer, right? It is a connection oriented and reliable layer. Thirdly, we have network layer. This handles routing and delivering packets across the network. Key protocols here are IP, okay, for routing, and ARP for resolving addresses. Fourthly, we have link layer, right? This link layer. This combines the data link and physical layers, handling how data is transmitted over the physical network. Prashant, the attendance list has been shared in the group from where you can cross check your attendance, right? Still, if you have any issues, you can contact on WhatsApp. Moving on, data transmission in TCP/IP. Is there any question till now? Let me know in the chat box. Okay. How data transmission is done in TCP/IP? How data flows through TCP/IP stack? Okay. Data starts in the application layer and it is passed to the transport layer where a header is added. Okay, a header is added. It moves to the network layer where another header is added for routing. The link layer adds its header and trailer, preparing the packet for transmission. At the receiving end, where it is supposed to be received, this process is reversed. Okay, इसका opposite होता है उल्टा. Stripping headers layer by layer. Moving on to key protocols in TCP/IP. Okay, foundational elements. TCP ensures reliable data transfer, as discussed before. It's connection oriented, meaning it established a connection before sending data. Okay. Secondly, we have UDP. We will also see difference between TCP and UDP. Okay. UDP focuses on speed. Okay, it's a connectionless and doesn't guarantee reliability. Okay, great for streaming or gaming, right? Thirdly, we have IP. It handles routing packets across the internet. Okay, you must have heard about IP. ICMP used for error reporting, like when a host is unreachable. Fourthly, we have ARP. We also have ARP attacks in ethical hacking, if you all know. Resolves IP addresses to physical MAC addresses. Here's a new term, MAC addresses. Do you all, does anybody know what is MAC address? What is MAC address? MAC, MAC address. किसी को पता है? No, no, no. Uh, it's okay if you don't know. Uh, it is a very basic thing when you start learning, first of all, wireless hacking. Okay, so hmm. Sure, I will tell this about this. I'm just waiting for few answers. चलो, तो मैक एड्रेसेस एंड आईपी एड्रेस आर बोथ यूनिक आइडेंटिफायर्स। ये दोनों यूनिक एड्रेसेस होते हैं, यूज्ड इन नेटवर्क्स, दोनों नेटवर्क्स में होते हैं, एंड दे सर्व डिफरेंट पर्पसेस, राइट? दे ऑपरेट एट डिफरेंट लेयर्स। व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन मैक एंड आईपी? तो मैक एड्रेस इज अ यूनिक हार्डवेयर identifier, right, assigned to network interface by the manufacturer. Mac is present at the data link layer, okay, whereas IP stands for internet protocol, okay. It is a logical address assigned to a device for communication. और IP एड्रेस प्रेजेंट होता है नेटवर्क लेयर में. MAC address cannot be changed. It is fixed to a hardware, okay, hardware पे. Whereas IP address is dynamic, or you can say static. It is tied to network. After today's class, I will share, okay. When you learn computer networks, you will learn that MAC address cannot be changed. But when you will start learning ethical hacking, you will learn that MAC address can also be changed. Okay. Yes. Okay, moving on, we have the difference between TCP versus UDP, right? I think we have all studied this in computer networks in college too, okay? So just a quick recap. TCP is connection oriented, whereas UDP is connectionless, okay? TCP is reliable, whereas UDP is unreliable. TCP guarantees order. UDP, there is no guarantee, okay? TCP, whereas is slower, and UDP is faster. This is the basic difference between these two. Rest you can study on your own. Uh, what is the difference? Get my point? There were some more topics that I wanted to cover, but I think they are going to take much more time. So, how about we wrap up this session? Let me give a quick introduction about packet sniffing and network analysis. What are the tools that we use in packet sniffing? And then we will call off this session. It's been almost 1 hour. Actually, I think some parts are also missing in my presentation. What we needed to study right now is network addresses, okay, IP, datagram overview, responsibilities of IP layer, right? Then we needed to study packet sniffing. Pakka. Today, 100% I'll share PPT and the notes. First of all, let me share some things. Okay. Okay. So, along with the presentations and notes, I'll be also sharing a case study about a company named iPremier. Okay. A high end e commerce company focused on luxury, rare, and vintage goods, right? Emphasizing customer trust. But what happened to them? Okay. This is a case study that I'll share. You can go through it. First of all, let me share my whiteboard with you all, and we will see some things about packet sniffing. Okay, so first of all, let's see what is packet sniffing. A basic definition would be it is a hacking technique that involves capturing and analyzing data packets, okay, that travel through a network. As the name suggests, sniffing. Okay, so packets are traveling through a network and hackers try to sniff them out. Okay, it is a hacking technique that's involve capturing those packets when they are traveling through a network. We can do that using packet sniffers. Okay, we can do that using packet sniffers, we have some tools. Okay, packet sniffer tools can be used to steal sensitive data such as login credentials. Okay, it can be molded into several forms and used as spying. Okay, currently I'm showing my whiteboard, that's why. There are tools that capture and analyze packet traveling across the network. Okay, some of the popular tools I would say Wireshark. How many of you have heard of Wireshark? Ignore my handwriting. Wireshark. It's a really famous tool. It is used for capturing packets. Great if you have heard. Okay, it's a tool. It is already present in Kali Linux, or you can also install it. It is used for packet sniffing. Now, why are packet sniffers important? They help analyze network traffic, okay, troubleshoot issues, or even detect security breaches. For example, a captured packet might reveal protocols, okay, whether it's TCP, HTTP, or DNS, or it can also identify the source where it is coming from, or it can identify the destination IP, who's sending और हु इज़ रिसीविंग द पैकेट, कौन भेज रहा है या फिर किस पे जा रहा है, ये सब हम पता कर सकते हैं. द साइज ऑफ द पैकेट, ओके, लेंथ. So this all can be done using packet sniffers like Wireshark. Getting the point? There are more than tools than Wireshark. TCP dump. Okay, this is also a tool, and there's one more tool. Ethereal. Okay, it is also a tool. Trinetra. Yes, Mac changer can be used to change Mac address in Kali Linux. We can change Mac address. Basically, how we use Wireshark is you can launch Wireshark from your applications menu, and then you will see a list of network interfaces, right? Like Wi-Fi or Ethernet. These represents the different network adapters on your machines, right? From now, you can select the network interface you want to monitor. Okay, and then there's a blue shark icon there. You can click it to start beginning the packets. Okay, and then you can filter what you want to capture, and then later you can analyze a packet. Okay, can save or capture, and we'll see all this practical things from upcoming sessions, right? Thank you all for joining today's class, and I think it was one of the last classes where we would discuss theoretical things, and hopefully from now on we will start some real tools. Okay, studying the tools that we use in ethical hacking. There are some topics left like laws and regulations, policies. We'll see how we will cover them. Okay, we'll try to increase the number of classes. For those who haven't installed Kali Linux, don't worry, I'll share you the tutorial on how to install it. Thank you for attending today's class. Rahul, you need to install Kali Linux in virtual machine. Okay, if you haven't, don't worry, I'll upload a tutorial. Okay, recorded tutorial on how to install. Long story short, if you want me to tell it now, you need to first install Oracle virtual machine, okay, and then install uh, download, sorry, Kali Linux, and then you can install inside it. Then you need to dedicate some RAM or some technical things, and then you are good to go. No, I don't think so. Great. If you haven't filled the form, kindly fill the attendance form, and thank you for attending today's class, and I'll see you. Bye bye.